Grab your Speedos, bump up your techno music. We're going full Euro in today's video. We're ranking the worst motorcycles from the European manufacturers. Now look, this one was a bit tough because there's not that many Euro manufacturers, right?
Yeah, I mean, you might just think Europeans are great at making wine and cheese, but they're pretty darn good at making motorcycles too. But we did find 8 duds we got to talk about today.
Yeah, there's some bikes that probably should not be made, and the Euro manufacturers have their offerings very streamlined. So this one was a little tough, but there are some bikes that are just pretty darn bad. So in today's video, do not let the ranking fool you. They are in no particular order because they're all bad and strange in their own unique ways. Yeah. Let's start off with the first of the bunch. It is the KTM Duke 250. Now Logan, this was a bike that we've been talking about in this new beginner light category. Right. We're starting to get flooded with like third world and like, you know, South Asian market motorcycles. And this one confuses me because KTM has tried selling the Duke 250 before in the States. I think in like 2017 or 18. It was a total flop. But now they see the economy and they're like, it's time, baby. It's time to sell some 250s. What do you make of this bike?
Yeah, so I mean, KTM's, normal beginner bike offerings, their 390 stuff, are pretty sweet, pretty nice, but they're a little too upmarket for the average Western beginner rider these days. So, that $6,000, $7,000 KTM 390, just too big of a pill to swallow. But luckily, they got you covered, the Duke 250.
So this motorcycle is featuring an anemic little single-cylinder 250. It's not really designed for American highways. KTM wants, what is it, $42.99? Something like that. So above $4,000 for it. It kind of features, it's like, oh, it's got all this angular styling and all this sort of stuff on it. But realistically, this is, like we said, a holdover from other markets that they're just trying to ship over here too. Maybe they have excess stock and they're like, where can we sell these? Some poor people in the US are gonna buy these. And that may be a theme you might see in today's video. Logan, what else do you want to say about the KTM 250?
And at a glance, at a distance, it looks the part, right? But then you start looking in, diving in a little bit closer, and you can see where they cut a lot of corners on this motorcycle to maintain that ultra low price point. And it's like not only a significantly smaller motorcycle than the 390s, but it's half as good in every other way. It's got an LCD screen, I think. LCD, I haven't heard that since 2010. It doesn't have the WP, like adjustable suspension. All the cool stuff that makes the 390 sort of punch above its weight class is lacking on the 250. And pretty much every, American rider, and again, we're gonna probably offend some other people. Anytime we talk about other countries, like, these Americans don't know anything.
Yeah.
What I do know is about the American experience. And the Americans I've heard of that have purchased 250s because they think, oh, I grew up riding dirt bikes, 250 dirt bikes, that's plenty fast. Yeah. They get it to, and they say, oh, KTM 250 street bike, they ride one, and they're like, man, I wasted $4,300 because else you're not gonna get, there's not gonna be a great resale value on that motorcycle either. It's kind of like a CF Moto 300 type purchase. Oh God,
yeah. That's a fair point. This motorcycle, good luck trying to resell this on the used market. People are gonna see KTM like, oh, it's interesting to see 250. They go, huh, what? So save yourself the trouble. Do not buy this bike brand new. It's a bad idea. This only makes sense, again, in developing markets where this is seen as like an upmarket bike you can aspire to. I've seen many stories about that in India and Brazil and Vietnam and Southeast Asia, where these motorcycles are like definitely mid-tier. They're pretty good because otherwise you're rolling around on like a 135cc Hero, whatever the hell, or something like that. So yeah, here in America, probably for the European market too, not the greatest motorcycle. Let's move on to the next one.
So I think I've done a pretty good job here on the channel of establishing myself as sort of like a rock and roll guy. I'm from Detroit. I got the English D on the hat, Detroit Rock City. I'm all about that rock and roll lifestyle. So if you're in the market for a motorcycle that evokes rock and roll, look no further than the BMW R18 Roctane.
The Roctane, baby. Rocking out, yeah.
Rocking out. Put this baby in rock mode, maybe switch it over to roll mode depending on how you're feeling, and just have a hell of a time.
I'd want to roll into a ditch if I was riding this bike. Okay, R18, gigantic boxer twin. Nobody asked for it. BMW now makes like 5 different variants of it for some reason, and the Roctane is the most ridiculous one that they make. And this to me, suffers the same thing that we talked about with the Fury, where I'm like, look, BMW is a very buttoned up, German,
Sure,
precise, like, you know, corporate kind of brand. When they try to like let their hair down a little bit, unbutton a little bit, let that chest hair out, you're like, dude, you're not fooling anybody, you know? So this comes across as very try hard to me.
Yeah.
The branding just feels off.
Yeah, inauthentic.
Inauthentic.
You know, people will laugh all day at, you know, Harley riders that think they're so hardcore when they're dentists or whatever. I mean, any Harley Davidson is going to be a little bit cooler than a Roctane, because the Roctane specifically is the R18 trim that's trying to be the most edgy. They've got ape hangers, self-described as ape hangers. No BMW product page should use the term ape hangers. That's crazy.
I think it's a mini ape hangers,
Mini
right?
ape hangers, yeah, which also is like an oxymoron. What are those, like chimpanzee
Yeah, like
hangers?
little
you know?
monkey, tamarin monkey hangers, you know, the tiny little ones. It kind of evokes like Fisher Price little toys.
That's a deep monkey pull.
Yes, deep monkey pull, showing my monkey ignorance here, unfortunately. The jokes really make themselves, and yeah, it kind of feels like, you know, this bike, it's like the motorcycle equivalent of like, you know, the corporate guy who like puts on a leather jacket and he looks in the mirror and he's like, hey, I look pretty good. Like, I'm kind of a badass. And it's like, please stop. Like, please just be yourself. BMW is best when they're being themselves, when they're making very refined, kind of dorky, you know, tools for dentists to use on long distance travel to pretend like they're going to go out there and find themselves, when in reality they're suffering a middle-aged crisis that they're never going to be able to find themselves, and they're stuck in the divorce and their kids hate them. So the only thing they have is their BMW to really hold on to. And why don't you do that with some dignity? Why don't you do that with some panache rather than getting yourself a Roctane? Just get the GS, you know, save us all the favor.
The GS at least is earning you some experience and some time. Like you're getting some experience for like what you pay for. The Roctane, it's like you're not searching for your new identity. This is your new identity. Like, look no further.
It's been hoisted upon you.
It's like, this is you now. You're a rock and roll guy. Yeah, leather jacket, maybe some like snakeskin cowboy boots. That'd be kind of cool, I think.
Oh, maybe, yeah.
But yeah, and then another thing I was gonna talk about when we're talking about mini ape hangers, we're on the Tamarin thing, a nostalgic round speedometer. Described as nostalgic, and I'm like, that is nostalgic. I thought the LCD was sort of a product of a different time. The round, you know, analog thing. Maybe I'm selling myself on the Roctane.
Maybe, yeah. I mean, you know, we love analog gauges here on AMU. We harken back to the past. Things were better in the mid 2000s. But I do think, like, if your whole branding is about rock and roll, boy, that hasn't been relevant for a very. Perhaps the last time it was relevant was the mid 2000s.
Maybe.
Kind of, you know, like rock and roll attitude, but it just feels so.
Well, did you watch the Turning Point halftime show? They were rocking pretty hard there.
Oh, the Turning Point with Kid Rock?
Yeah.
I mean, it's in his name.
Right.
Maybe he rides a Roctane.
Maybe. I don't.
Nah, not American enough for him. Yeah, he's got to do that. So Roctane, kind of a blunder from BMW. Let's move on to the next one. All right, Logan, we've talked about blunders, we've talked about the past, harkening back to nostalgia. There's no other brand that does that better than Triumph. We're talking
for sure.
Elvis Presley, Cary Grant, Abraham Lincoln. They go way far back in the catalog. And I think, unfortunately, the Thruxton 400 is sort of a miss. Now, why is that? It's because Triumph has gotten very comfortable with taking these storied nameplates. You have the Daytona, you have the Thruxton, and like, you know what? Put that thing on any bike we're selling, baby. They've had some CF Moto people infiltrate their ranks. Cultural nihilism is at an all-time high with Triumph, and they've slapped the Thruxton name on a tiny little 400cc beginner bike, while simultaneously, Logan, my cortisol's spiking. I gotta be careful. The looks maxers are gonna get after me. My skincare routine is not up to task. Simultaneously taking away the real Thruxton. It's a damn shame, Logan.
It's a damn shame. And yeah, I think it's, you know, indicative of Triumph's sort of, you know, they used to be like, have so much pride and so much like protective of the brand, right? And I think in sort of this wave of broccoli-headed cultural nihilists, like they've done the market research and like young people literally don't care. They don't care about brand, they don't care about history, they don't care about whatever, other than looking as good as possible thanks to the micro fissures or whatever they're called.
That is looks maxing. You're describing the current culture. Yeah, you're right. They don't care about the culture, the history, none of that stuff. It's why CF Moto's at an all-time high. It's why they're able to sell stuff like this. And yeah, maybe as the chopped unks that we are, it's kind of sad. You know, you're like, man, I kind of miss that.
Because I mean, the Thruxton was the cool bike that like you were willing to pay more than a regular Bonneville. You were willing to pay more than a regular Speed Twin. You wanted that extra character, that extra special thing. It was a Thruxton. It wasn't a Bonneville, it was a Thruxton.
Yes.
And you paid a premium to have that. And even those bikes still like, you know, hold some value. You can see like a 2010 or whatever, it'll be like 12,000 bucks because like they mean something. It's representative of the brand and the taste of the purchaser. Yeah, the Thruxton 400 is just, we're gonna take the teeniest bit of that energy and just drop it onto, you know, an Indian-made 400 and sell it for $2,000 more than the regular Speed 400.
Let's do a fun experiment. We'll include our editor Josh here for this one. I have him do this all the time. Let's flash up an image of a Thruxton Final Edition, the green one with the gold highlights. Absolutely gorgeous machine. Now, look at the Thruxton 400 next to it. You can't tell me those are both Thruxtons. That's a bit silly. And we were kind of talking about this where it kind of reflects like the new tiny home economy. You're supposed 100%. To be happy with what you got, you know? And I'm like, damn, dude, like the Thruxton used to be something. Now look what it's become, you know?
Yeah, I mean they put a patio on a shed, you know?
That's exactly what it is.
They put solar panels on a shed and called it a Thruxton.
Yeah, it's like this is your home. Oh God. Moving on. Night riding presents its own slew of challenges when it comes to filming. City lights, dark roads, oncoming traffic, and epic LED underglow from your buddy's Gixxer. They all result in grainy shadows, a loss of detail, or blown out highlights. But when executed properly, night cinematography looks so cool and cinematic, like you're the protagonist in some cyberpunk action thriller. And that's where the DJI Osmo Action 6 comes in. The DJI Osmo Action 6 tackles night filming head-on with Super Night Mode. It shoots up to 8K at 30 frames per second and can run at that bright f2.0 aperture, pulling in significantly more light when conditions get tough. That translates to cleaner, more usable footage, whether you're riding at dusk through downtown traffic or carving back roads at sunset. We've all been on rides where the sky looks insane, yet the footage just doesn't really capture it. With Super Night Mode on with the Action 6, it actually does. If you want to get serious about bringing dynamic night rides to your content, this camera is the best way to go about it. Hit the link down below in the description to learn more about how the Osmo Action 6 is changing the game for action cameras. Thanks to DJI for the support. Now let's get back to the show.
So it's actually kind of a perfect segue coming from the Thruxton. Triumph's not the only company putting a fairing on a cheaper bike and calling it something it's not. And that was really vague, but I'm talking about the Ducati Formula 73.
Yeah. Formula 73.
I'm like, what? Ducati's making baby food now? You got Formula 73.
Ducati Formula for babies. I should get that for our newborn.
Yeah, you should.
Yeah, for sure. Formula 73, it's a scrambler, right? Like, what are we doing? Ducati. Like, when this came out, I saw a lot of buzz about it. People like, oh my God, it's a new Ducati. I looked at it and I was like, oh, it does look kind of neat. Like, what's, you know? And then I was like, wait a minute, that headlight looks familiar. Then I saw the frame and the pipes. I was like, it's a scrambler.
It's a scrambler.
Yeah, and the marketing is like, the Desmo Due 803cc. I'm like, you mean the engine you've been making for 20 years? Right, okay, now it's a heritage product. They're pulling a Suzuki at that point, you know? Like, so I don't know. This one, we were talking about it, a bit of a cash grab, right?
Definitely a bit of a, and again, we're dogging on Triumph for all their special editions. Ducati's no saint when it comes to special editions either. They got even more egregious ones. The Lamborghini, the Supreme, the Diavolo for Bentley. I don't even know what that means. I was a car company of it, whatever. But those are expensive bikes, you know, pushing sometimes 6 figures. And they're like, man, these poors just can't afford our special edition Ducatis. So what do? We make a special edition scrambler, charge 20 grand.
Yeah, the Formula 73 is for the petite bourgeois, right? It's not for the ultra well-heeled. Those are already spoken for in the Tricolore, Panigale, Pecco Bagnaia, Lamborghini, whatever the hell editions. It's all just paint jobs. Can we be honest? Like, that's all it is. You're just paying for paint jobs, right? And the 73 takes that up a little bit because, like, oh, you get a kind of a different fairing, same headlight, same thing. You know, it's really like Yamaha's like XSR treatment, the XSR 900 and the XSR 900 GP, and people go gaga for that one. The Euros go gaga for that one. We don't get that here, so we can't talk about it. But yeah, the 73, to me, I'm like, well, 20 grand.
Yeah.
For what exactly? And they're kind of like, oh, harkening back to our history and our heritage. I'm like,
yeah, and it's just that kind of like, cringe, like scarcity, fake scarcity thing where it's like, if they just made this kind of scrambler super sport or whatever and styled it like similarly in the classic super sport style, but it was the Ducati, the Scrambler architecture, the air-cooled, whatever, trellis frame. Be like, oh, that's kind of cool. I'd pay maybe a little bit more for that than an Icon or whatever. But to present it in this like ultra special limited thing, it's like, dude, who really cares?
Yeah, and again, it's kind of funny that the Scrambler was like for a long time like, that's a fake Ducati. It's not even real. And even in the showrooms, they had like their own branding. It was totally different. Now they took that architecture and they're like, oh, this is authentic and this is real Ducati DNA. I'm like, come on, come on. What do you take me for? You know? You maybe can pawn off your money and your things to CF Moto people, but not to me. I can see right through you, right through you. Moving on. Logan, I've been waiting all video to talk about this one. All video, because I never, ever miss an opportunity to dunk on BMW. We just did it with the Roctane, and now we have to do it with the BMW R1300 RS. What the f is even that? What is BMW thinking with this bike?
It's the guy that's like, I want kind of a sport touring bike, but 4-cylinder. Oh wow, like that's too scary for me. I can't be trusted with the 4. Deb won't let me take the Beamer out if it's got 4 cylinders. I need the lumpy boxer in my weird sport bike thing.
Your Midwestern really came out there. I appreciated it. Yeah, I like that. That's true. Yeah, it's like someone who, like, why is this an RS? Why is this all like sport bike styled, but it's still just like a big fat touring thing? Because whether BMW admits it or not, all they ever really want to make is a touring bike. You know, like that's their archetypal DNA, because that's where they started out as, right?
K100.
Yeah, so like the whole things that they all make, it's always like kind of a touring bike. And anytime they try to deviate from that, they kind of go Roctane, they go sporty. I'm like, I don't really buy it, you know? It's like when you have like, you know, like you're in middle school or something, and like the nerdy little dweeby kid tries to be like really tough, and you're like, that's not you, man.
That's
Come on,
yeah.
don't do this, you know?
And that's what you say, you could having trouble at home.
So
so
demeaning.
Yeah. Is your older brother giving you a hard time and you're acting out, trying to feel tough?
Yeah, BMW, what's going on? What's going on? Who's hurting you? What's the deal?
Come on, it's us. We're the ones hurt. They're like, all these people keep hating on us.
They're like, we gotta be tough, we gotta be cool.
Yeah.
So if you've owned this bike or are interested in this bike, this is one of the first ones. All the other ones I kind of understand who would buy it, you know? Duke 250, you know, the Poors, Formula 73, the rich Poors, the Roctane,
Rocker
divorcees, Thruxton 400, cultural nihilist.
Yeah.
But genuinely, who on God's green earth wants an R1300 RS?
I'm not sure, yeah.
Because just like we said at the Roctane, just get a GS.
Just
right?
get a GS or get like a K1600. If you're gonna go like German tour, just get a K1600. That's like kind of what you want, you know what I mean?
And honestly, those are good. I test rode one of those, I think 2 years ago, and I was like, that silky smooth engine, like piles on miles. It's nice, you know, it's a nice thing. And if you wanted a big twin-cylinder sport touring style motorcycle, I don't know, Africa Twin, NT 1100, like there's other offerings that could probably do it better. Because the Boxer's just not the architecture for that. It's not really designed to be sporty at all.
Yeah, or like wrung out on the freeway.
Yeah,
or, you know?
like that's not an engine. You're like, yeah, let me like get this thing going. You know, let me rev it out to 8,000 RPM. Silly.
So this is actually a little bit surprising, trying to find, you know, what's the worst KTM they make. You'd think after all the scandals in the not so distant past, there'd be a million bad bikes. But it turns out the free market has proven they just stopped making them and pretended it didn't happen. So they only sell like 3 different bikes now. You know, got 390s, 890s, 1390s. But amongst those, the head scratchers, like what is KTM going for this? And that's kind of where you end up with the 1390 Super Adventure S EVO. A mouthful right off the bat, and then you think, what does that even mean? It's like a adventure bike with like sporty stuff, and the pictures are like a guy in a tracksuit, but also an ADV helmet with goggles, like hanging off the bike, dragging. It's like a very strange, confused motorcycle.
100%. And it's just, you know, the marketing for this bike, you know, very different than the 250, first of all, in legible English and everything's working correctly. But second of all, they say more is more. And I'm like, what question is this answering? You know, they're like, what is the most maximalist motorcycle we can possibly make? And they're like, let's do like an adventure bike that's also a track bike that's also like got King Kong gorilla levels of horsepower, another primate, ape adjacent situation there. And I'm just like, who is really the target buyer for this? Is it someone who wants sport touring, well, why would you go KTM Super Adventure S EVO? Like, you took an adventure bike platform and made it more sporty. Like, there's already plenty of bikes that do that a lot better. The Multistrada comes to mind. Because the Multistrada, yes, they also have the kind of weird thing of like, it's kind of an adventure bike, but they make the RS version of it that just has 17s, and Ducati knows how to make a sport bike. Just go with something like that. I don't really understand this bike at all.
Yeah, me either. Because you think KTM's known for dirt bikes, off-road stuff. You think they're, the top of their flagship range would be a sort of off-road adventure bike. And so to have the S EVO at the top, I'm like, what are they even getting at? I don't know if it's like because they've got the 990 RCR. Now they're like, we gotta be sporty. We gotta make people know we're sporty.
Yeah.
But for me, I'm just like, nah.
Yeah, it would have been way cooler if KTM just like shoved the 1390 engine in a superbike chassis and just be like, yeah, like this is our 1390 RCR. A lot of people would love to see the Big Daddy RCR come back, the RC8R that they RC8R that they made back in the day. That would be cool, but KTM is apparently too afraid to make a superbike like that. Actually, the reason they cut that old one, so the story goes, is that they were like, it's not appropriate for public streets. And I'm like, but this is?
Right.
But the Super Duke is? Huh? So, I don't know, it's kind of weird from a brand who literally says no bullshit all over their advertising to kind of give you a little bit of bullshit. You're like, what are you really doing there?
Sure.
Yeah, so this one, I guess, is for the orange-blooded simps out there who want to truly do it all and I guess do none of it that great. And
spend a lot of money to do it.
Spend a lot of money to do it and kind of, roll the dice on those cams. You have to say it. You got to say it.
4-year premium factory warranty.
Let me know, after those 4 years, how those cams are doing. Guarantee they're not good. Logan, it pains me to do yet another Ducati, but we did promise ourselves we'd do 2 from each manufacturer. Had to do it to them, and I do think that the new Ducati Monster Plus is a very confused little motorcycle.
Definitely, yeah.
I am a big fan of Ducatis. I've owned several of them for giveaways. I've had a Ducati Scrambler. I like the brand. I like the bikes a lot. One of my preferred brands. But I gotta call a spade a spade. The Ducati Monster Plus makes no sense in their lineup. You have the Monster Plus, which is their, they put the new generation V2 engine in it, so spring valves, dual-sided swing arm, no trellis frame, just like a naked bike that kind of just, MT-09 competitor basically.
Yeah, for sure.
But then you also have the Street Fighter V2, which is also a MT-09 competitor. And so I'm kind of like, we're splitting hairs on who's buying what. What do you make of this?
Yeah, I mean, it seems like, Ducati sort of made this deal when they made the Monster back in the 90s of being like, if we make this bike and our company survives, we have to make this bike forever. And like that was the deal that was made. So it's like they owe homage and credit to the Monster for bolstering the company during those turbulent years. So I think there's kind of like, we kind of have to.
Yeah.
And then it's kind of like we've been saying, where Triumph is operating as 2 different companies now, where they've got the old classic stuff and then the new era stuff. I think Ducati's sort of doing a similar thing of moving more and more and more towards these modern, contemporary, no desmo, easier service, more reliable, more usable, functional, mostly all good things. But when that results in both a Street Fighter and a Monster that are doing the exact same, nearly identical power, nearly identical weight, slightly different ergonomics and style, it doesn't make any sense. But I'm convinced, it's we have, as long as Ducati exists, we have to sell a Monster.
Yeah. But the thing is, it's so different spiritually than what Monster ever was. And they used to make so many different variants of Monsters, and they were genuinely unique and different in the way that they were in the lineup. And nowadays, they're just too close to everything else that Ducati is making. I thought when the kind of press material came out for this bike, I thought for sure they were gonna make something like the Ducati Monster Puro edition, and it was gonna have a trellis frame, and it was they're probably gonna use the V2, but I thought for sure they'd do something more retro classic. They did not. They continued this march on the Monster to just keep stripping away everything that made it kind of an interesting bike. And now we're just left with the, kind of another, naked bike in the category that's it's pretty good. It's a good bike. It weighs practically nothing. It makes a good amount of power. That V2 engine is fantastic, but you're just missing kind of that charm and flavor from the old Ducati products. It's also borne out by the fact that Ducati only makes this in the V2 engine configuration. They don't sell it with any other engines. There's no big Monsters, no little Monsters. There used to be a wide variety of different Monsters you could buy But again, I think the Monster used to represent a huge portion of Ducati's business, and it just no longer does.
Yeah,
you know?
for sure.
But lucky for you guys, they made a lot of Monsters. So if you want a cool one, there's still lots of used ones out there. Let's move on to the final bike in today's video.
So I somewhat famously, in a different whiteboard video, maybe a few months ago or something, was very confused about Triumph's motorcycle lineup because they have too many damn motorcycles and they're confusing. Exhibit A, Triumph Tiger 900 GT Pro. 1, it's too many words. 2, I don't know what this bike is for. 3, why does it cost like $5,000 more than the Tiger Sport 800 and make less power and have less, I don't understand it.
Yeah.
Call me an ignorant American, but I don't understand it.
Yeah, so this is also a case similar to the Ducati where like you have two bikes that are way too close to each other. And honestly, much like the Ducati, separated by a big price delta. So what is the Tiger 900 GT Pro, what a mouthful, supposed to accomplish? It's supposed to be like a long distance touring adjacent motorcycle that's kind of sporty. Tiger Sport 800 is the exact same design brief. I don't know of a situation where, other than the fact that you're like, oh, that one has the T-plane crank and it's like more adventure-y. I'm like, come on, let's be real. It's a 3-cylinder, 800-ish cc motorcycle that's supposed to like be a commuter, bop around, whatever.
Right.
But it has like 19s and cast wheels, so that's the one difference. But they're way too close. And the Tiger Sport 800 is a great bike. It works really, really well. I don't understand why. I bet you they're going to phase this out.
Yeah, they should just pare down, and they have like the Tigers are the sort of adventure-y off-road ones. The Tiger Sports are the sport touring road-going ones, and then they yeet all the any Tiger GT thing because there's no purpose to that when you have the Tiger Sports.
No. And I think a lot of people buying the Tigers want that rally, off-road capability, all that stuff. I don't see a situation that, you know, someone would be like, much like the KTM we talked about, you're like, I'm going to buy an adventure bike, but make it road-oriented. And I'm like, well, why not just get a road-oriented bike? You know, we keep like, it's an Ouroboros of like adventure sport touring that we keep having in motorcycling. It's very silly. So yeah, Triumph needs to cut the names down, trim down their offerings, make it make a little more sense. They're probably, as Logan said, going to funnel more time and effort and energy into the bikes that are a little bit cheaper, easier to produce, the 400s, the 800s, the 660s. That's where we see the new Triumph kind of coming.
They're going Japanese.
They're going Japanese, and once you go Japanese, there ain't no coming back. You start getting your assembly lines set up, your manufacturing on point, your supply chain's on point, and then you just print them out like Suzuki is until the heat gets the universe. Kaizen, baby. Yep, incremental improvements. So that's where we see Triumph going in the future. But yeah, this Tiger 900 GT Pro, kind of a strange bike in their lineup. But what do you guys think? Did we totally miss the mark? Do you agree with anything we said here? Do you have mini ape hangers on your motorcycle or your Fisher-Price tricycle? Let us know in the comments down below. We truly do appreciate it. Catch you in the next one. See you later.